Bob's Breakfast.
I'm Graham Mack, and Chris brought us an amazing story from Worcester Cathedral of a bell ringer who got his heel caught in the rope, and the rope winched him up into the bell tower. He had to get the fire brigade to lower him down 80 feet. Bonzi's on the phone. Morning, Bonzi.
Yeah, just listening to about the old bell ringer. But fairness happens quite a lot.
Oh, really?
All the time.
All the chime! All the chime!
Hello.
Goodness me. Let's ring him back. Bonzi, see if I can get him back on the phone.
Hello?
Bonzi, I heard that one fella got caught in the rope and it fired him up so far into the bell tower that he actually smacked into the bell with the front of his head.
Let me guess.
Go on then, finish it.
Go on. He ended up in hospital, and the police and everything came as well, and they all checked him out, and his face don't ring a bell. Old ones are the best, aren't they?
Yeah, but do you know what else happened?
Go on.
Do you know what else happened? His twin brother, his identical twin brother, he took over from him while he was sick. But he wasn't very experienced at it. Same thing happened to him, and he died.
Go on.
And he ended up falling to the bottom of the bell tower. And one bloke looks at him and goes, "That's the second time that's happened." And he says, "Oh, isn't it the same fella?" He says, "No, but he's a dead ringer for the other."
Get off.
This is Bob.
So Apple doing well. They sold a load of the iPhone 7s.
Yeah, they sold 78.3 million iPhones across the quarter.
78.3 million. And if you add to that the number of Apple Watches sold, you get a figure of 78.3 million.
Oh, yes. It's Bob's Breakfast.
Ben Spencer, he's going on a trip to Amsterdam, sends off for a passport. When it comes back, there's a photo of somebody else in his photo. It's not him in his passport. It's the wrong photo. What's your story of a passport drama? Badger.
Well, this guy I know, he went, him and his mates went away for the weekend or something, and at the end, he dished the passports back out to them all.
Yeah.
Well, then he went skiing to Andorra.
Right.
Yeah. And when he was at the hotel reception, the guy behind reception said, "Well, this isn't your passport."
Oh.
He went, "What?" He'd given out the wrong passports, but he got all the way to Andorra on someone else's passport, and he didn't even look like him.
It wasn't even his name. There was nothing.
No, it wasn't even his name. Yeah. Yeah. And it didn't even look like him. And they'd looked at the photo.
Yeah.
And just gone, yeah, and just waved him through. Yeah, he got all the way to Andorra. Yeah.
Bob's Breakfast.
Driving test stories this morning. And Joe, yours isn't about you, it's about a mate of yours.
So I've come from an era where driving tests were very much simpler. We were all trying to get onto our bikes back in the day.
Yeah.
And the Luton Driving Centre, test centre, they used to have 3 blocks around which you would drive your bike. So the examiner would say, drive up there, turn right there, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And then they would cut through various alleyways to see you.
Right.
So for the emergency stop, they would tell you where you were going to stop, and they would tell you that they would signal by putting their arm out,
Yeah.
and then you would do your stop. So my mate, he was driving round, he knew this was going to happen, he saw the examiner took one step onto the road,
Yeah.
put his arm out, and my mate ran him over.
What happened? How did he panic, or what happened there?
It was a combination of all the things. We're all young, we're all 17, and he had an old Honda C90. I don't know if you remember those bikes.
No.
Their brakes were really rubbish.
Right.
And they had really, really spongy suspension, so the things didn't stop very quickly.
Right.
And he just couldn't stop in time and just run him over.
And that's a fail, right? That's a fail.
A little bit of a fail.
Yeah,
He was so philosophical when he came back. We were like, how'd he get on? How'd he go on? He went, I'll run the examiner over. It was just,
would you like to be at the biggest awards there are, the biggest gig there is? It's awards season. Last night we had the BAFTAs, also had the Grammys, we've had the Golden Globes, the Oscars still to come, but the big one, a week on Wednesday, the Brit Awards, and you could be there. It's not just an award show, it's a gig. The biggest names in the music business right now will be performing, and you could see them. I need to know about the gig you didn't get to. Whatever the reason was it a public transport drama? Was it a mix-up over the tickets or the dates or whatever it is, and you've regretted it for the rest of your life? The gig you never got to. I'll make up for it by getting you to the biggest gig there is, the Brit Awards 2017 at the O2. All you got to do is fill in the form, BOBfm.co.uk. Now, Karen did that. Tell me about this gig you never got to, Karen.
I started going out with this guy, and we were both big fans of Wham.
Right.
And I used to live in a flat in Pangsranger, and he come round to meet me, and we were going over to his house on my moped.
On your moped?
Yeah, it's like a moped I had then.
Yeah. So you were going round to see him on your moped?
Yeah. I was got to a roundabout, and a car pulled out in front of me, and it was a bit wet, so I sort of broke quite hard, and I fell off the moped, but he was following me in a car. Right. So as I went to get up and turn around and start laughing, I just got this thud, and he'd run me over.
Your boyfriend ran you over?
Yes. So an ambulance was called, and obviously I was taken down to the QE2. No sort of serious injuries, but I came out on crutches. And on the Saturday, we were supposed to be going to see Wham, and obviously I couldn't go. So
you couldn't go because you were badly hurt then?
I was on crutches. I couldn't sort of put my foot down, and I was just really sore. So my now husband, went with my sister and her boyfriend.
No.
And he thought it'd be really nice to buy me a pair of flip-flops.
Flip-flops? Well, I suppose you couldn't wear shoes if your feet were bad.
No.
Yeah. So he got to go to the gig with your sister and her boyfriend, and you got flip-flops.
And yes, and I had to stay at home with my mum.
Oh, that's terrible. All right, well, Karen, I'm going to put you into the draw to win tickets to the Brits.
Oh, thank you very much.
Good luck.
This is Bob.
Traffic in Britain is the worst in Europe if you don't count Turkey and Russia. And if you're looking at Europe, you don't count Turkey and Russia. They're not Europe. Who's this fella?
This is Graham Cookson, who's from a company called Immigrants.
Right, so he's supposed to know because Immigrants do traffic reports for the media, don't they?
Yeah, and they've been assessing all the figures.
He's supposed to be a traffic expert, and he clearly doesn't even have a grasp of the basics. Let's hear what he had to say.
Where congestion is highest, the economies are also prosperous. So in many ways, congestion is a good thing.
Congestion is a good thing! Congestion's not a good thing. It costs businesses billions through extra fuel and things being late and people being late to work and late to meetings and all. Congestion is never a good thing. What else does he say?
Okay.
It causes a huge burden on drivers and businesses, and we should look at new ways of trying to tackle congestion. Building new roads isn't a solution.
Building new roads is the only solution. It isn't a solution. Why is building... Clearly, there is congestion because there aren't enough roads and the roads we have aren't wide enough. How is... Like... If we didn't have enough schools and an education minister came on and said, building more schools won't solve the problem, you would think that person is an idiot. But that is how we treat traffic. It's like these smart motorways. What they do is they open the hard shoulder up as a running lane when congestion's bad. Instead of building another motorway to ease the congestion or widening the one we've got. Can you imagine if they said, to ease crowding in the classroom, we're bringing in a smart classroom where we open up the corridor to be used as part of the classroom? It's the Brits next week, and you could be there. To go, I need to know about the gig you missed out on, the one you never got to. Charlotte.
I was like 19 and, I just love Bon Jovi really.
Yeah.
And I've grown out of him now, thank God. But yeah, and I went with my boyfriend who did look similar to him.
Right.
And we went over to Wembley, and I mean, I remember parts of it. I remember sitting up in the room, because when we got there really early. And just because we wanted to be right near the front. Yeah. And, obviously we waited for him to come. And then I thought, this is the best time to go to the toilet. I've never been to a gig before, so I didn't really know what to expect. And I think I underestimated actually how many people go to these sort of things. Yeah. So I went off to the toilet, and, it was while I was actually sitting on the toilet that I heard Sam starting, Ugly Kid Joe starting. And I come out, and I just went through the door that I'd come out of, and I just thought, oh my God, and there was just thousands and thousands of people, and I just thought, I know what I'll do, I'll go back to where I was, stupidly. So I went back to where I was, and of course my boyfriend wasn't there, because everyone had sort of just moved forward, probably about 20 paces, and the rest was, I went back out of the road, so I thought, what should I do? So I just went back out, and went back to where I was, the door that I came through, and, there was a man there, like a lost and found man, so like a little child. I went up to him, and he took me up to this room. What I can remember is he took me up to this room, which I had to sit on this bench, this plain, boring room, and he did a tannoy announcement halfway through, so I sat there, and my boyfriend never come to get me, never, which is the sad thing about it. So I sat up there the whole time, waiting for him to come and get me, and then he came at the end looking all red and sweaty and telling me what a great time. So I totally missed the concert.
You missed Bon Jovi completely. So you didn't even see... Did you say Ugly Kid Joe was the support act? You see them?
Yeah. No, I missed them. I was on the toilet with them, and I was on the toilet when they started, and so I saw a bit of them when I was making my way back in the crowd.
Yeah, but that was it.
But that was it. I heard a muffled Bon Jovi while I was sitting up in the room.
Yes.
if that makes any sense.
But you missed that. All right. Well, that's a good enough story to put you in the draw. You could win tickets to the Brits.
Brilliant. Well, I'm hoping that I will. So, yeah, okay. As long as I'm in the draw, I'm happy with
You're
that.
in the draw. You could be going to the Brits next week to make up for it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Charlotte, thanks for telling me about the gig you never got to. Thank you.
This is Bob.
Every day we hear how the NHS is at breaking point. It's in crisis. Yet people continue to get stuff on the NHS that isn't about life-saving. Like people get nicotine patches on the NHS. People get fertility treatment paid for by our tax money and boob jobs. I mean, if your self-esteem is so low because your boobs aren't big enough, what's wrong with you having to pay for it? I've got no objection to you having a boob job, but why do I have to pay for it? Same deal with gastric bands. I don't get it. Leslie, tell me about your relative.
She was 37 stone.
Right.
And she had a gastric band fitted.
Right. On the NHS? Did we pay for it? Yeah.
And she also got permission to have the excess flesh removed.
Okay, right. And that was paid for by the NHS as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes. However, she lost... she went right down to 16 stone. She did so well.
Yeah.
And then they pulled the plug on the operation.
What do you mean they pulled the plug on the operation?
They said that she had to lose another 6 stone.
Yes.
Before they would operate.
Oh, to remove the excess skin?
Yes.
So they'd had the gastric band, but not the skin, right? Okay, yeah.
Yes, but then...
Well, actually, they didn't say she couldn't have it. They said they wouldn't pay for it. She could still have it if she paid for it herself.
Well, probably, yes, but she's not in a position to do that. And it makes her fall over.
The extra fat, right.
Yeah, it makes her fall over.
Well, then, she should, when you say she's not in a position to do that, if that's the most important thing in her life, she must be spending money on something. Stop spending the money on whatever it is and save up and have the operation.
Well, yeah, there is that to it. But she can't work because her joints are all preventing her from bending and moving about naturally.
So what work does she do? Is she a scaffolder or something?
No.
Can she answer the telephone?
No.
Can she talk to you on the telephone? If you ring her up, can she talk to you?
Yes, she can.
So she can use the telephone?
Right,
I'm saying some people's work, some people's work is just using the telephone.
Yes, yeah, okay. So you put me to shame.
No. What I'm saying is, a lot of people.
I just feel so sorry for her because she works so hard.
Yeah.
And it's impossible for her to lose another 6 stone.
How's it impossible?
Well, because I think she's done enough and she's comfortable where she is. And surely when she gets on those scales, this skin and flesh...
she has a choice. She can carry on as she can carry on as she is, with a lifestyle as she is, and she can pay to have the surgery, or she can lose the weight and someone will pay for her to have the surgery. So she does have a choice.
Yes, she does. All right then.
All right. Cheers, Leslie.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
This is Bob.
The government's plan to prevent child obesity is severely limited. That's according to a report which calls for the urgent introduction of a sugar tax. Professor Mark Hansen is one of the authors.
Some calculations suggest that maybe for the first time in 200 years we're giving birth to a generation of children who will actually live less long than their parents. That's a terrible statistic and we're really letting them down.
So what's the name of that idiot that says kids are fat because there's no sugar tax?
This is Professor Mark Hansen.
He's an idiot. Total idiot. Your kids are not fat because there isn't a sugar tax. Your kids are fat because you're feeding them too much. Chris Hubbard. Couple of ex-prime ministers not too happy about Brexit.
No. First we had Tony Blair.
Yeah.
Just the other day he did his big grandstanding speech.
Yeah.
Now, John Major comes out of the woodwork.
Do you want to start with Tony Blair or John Major? I've got audio from both.
Let's start with Tony Blair.
Okay. So last week, former Prime Minister Tony Blair had this to say about Brexit.
The people voted without knowledge of the terms of Brexit. As these terms become clear, it is their right to change their mind. Our mission is to persuade them to do so.
He's saying we should basically revolt against the vote.
Yeah, he's saying stand up against it.
Now, John Major has said this.
8 months ago, a majority of voters opted to leave the European Union. I believed then, as I do now, that was an historic mistake. But it was one once asked that the British nation had every right to make. The government can't ignore that decision and must now shape a new future for our country. Some changes may be beneficial, others may not. A hard Brexit, which is where we appear to be heading, is high risk. Some will gain, others will lose. Many outcomes are going to be very different from present expectations. We'll find, to take but one example, that for all the social pressure for immigration control, economically, we will need the skills of immigrants.
2 former prime ministers are saying Brexit's a bad idea. Now, a lot of people who voted for Brexit voted for good things. They wanted good things for Britain. They didn't want bad things for Britain.
No.
They wanted bananas of any shape, and they wanted £350 million a week to go to the NHS. What's not to like? Interesting shaped bananas, money for the NHS.
Absolutely.
What's not to like? Who wouldn't vote for that?
Yeah.
Turns out the Brexit vote was all about immigration, because we are continually told that immigrants are stealing British jobs. even though the unemployment figures that came out just after Brexit, at a time when we had the highest immigration in our nation's history, showed the unemployment figures at an 11-year low. But people have changed. People used to take facts and then use those facts to form a belief. Now people form a belief and then look for facts to back it up. And if they see facts that are to the contrary, they just ignore those facts. So we're in a different world. I'm thinking, though, why are we so down on immigrants? Why do we discriminate against immigrants? When someone uses the phrase, they're taking jobs that could be given to British people, well, that's discrimination. That's discriminating against the immigrants and giving some kind of favouritism to people who were born here. Why is that? Why does someone who leaves their own country and makes the effort to come here and learn our language and then work in jobs that we don't want to do, at hours that we don't want to work, and in multiple jobs, why are they the people that we don't want to give the jobs to? And why instead do we favour the people who are only here as an accident of birth, who had no control on how they got here? Shouldn't it be the other way round? Shouldn't we favour the immigrants and discriminate against the people who did nothing to get here? Why isn't that the way it is?
It's an interesting point.
You look at the nations where immigration has been incredibly successful. I lived for a long time in Australia. Fabulous country. Fabulous. Not been so great for the Aborigines. They didn't even get the vote till 1973. The indigenous people there were discriminated against, and it built a massive nation. Now, whether that's morally right or wrong is another issue, but it was the immigrants that were given the favoritism that built an amazing nation. Same thing happened in the United States. The North American Red Indians had a terrible time, and it was the immigrants that got the favoritism and the breaks and built an amazing nation, the most powerful on earth. What's happened to the indigenous population of America? Well, they were placed on reservations. Maybe we should do that here. Maybe the indigenous people of Britain should be placed on reservations. You know, the native tribes, the Geordies, the Macks, the Brummies. These different tribes could have their own reservation, and we could just let the immigrants get on and build a better nation. Now, it's not all bad news for the Native Americans. The Native Americans now run fabulously successful casinos because their reservations have tribal sovereignty. The states have limited ability to forbid gambling there. They have an Indian Gaming Regulatory Act of 1988, and it's been successful. As of 2011, there were 460 gambling operations run by 240 tribes with a total annual revenue of $27 billion.
Wow.
Wouldn't we as the indigenous people of Britain want that kind of money coming in? If they put us on reservations and we built these massive casino complexes, not only could we make loads of money, but imagine the jobs we'd create. And a lot of those jobs in hospitality industries, bar work, and hotels and cleaners. Imagine the jobs that would create for even more immigrants.
Bob's Breakfast.